Alright, well, welcome back to the Weekly Yarns. What are we getting done this week? Well, we're getting quite a bit done this week in terms of sealing all our leaks up and getting my bits and pieces ordered for the valve chest. So, let us start with the leaks. So I had a leak from the lift pump, and as you know, we bought some GIC fittings. We put one GIC fitting into the tank. We put the other GIC fitting into the lift pump. The one in the tank we popped in with a fibre washer, and that was successful. That sealed it up beautifully, no problems whatsoever. We had to shorten the pipe by about half an inch either end, because obviously on the other ones there, the pipe entered the pump and it entered the tank where now it wasn't going to. So we just shortened those. New olives, new nuts, stop the leaks on those. The other end into the pump, put a fibre washer on there initially, just could not get that to seal at all. Doesn't matter, and it got to the stage where when you're tightening it, you think the next time I put a spanner on that, it's going to pull the thread out of it. And as I say, I got that point where that was it. We took it off. We had to fabricate a copper washer. I had one the right outside diameter, but not the right inside diameter, so we had to open the hole up to fit the GIC half-inch fitting. Put that in, nipped it, very lightly nipped it, and it sealed straight away. It was just the right size copper washer. It was nice and soft. Went in, sealed it up beautifully, not a problem. We then went round, as you've seen again, you'll have seen the videos hopefully. If not, nip back and watch video number 44. Resealing the cold start screw on the pump. These screws are particular to Davy Brown tractors. Ordered the kit of DB parts. The kit turned up. It was the little washer for inside the screw, and it was the two O-rings for the outside of the screw. I'd already ordered, or we had found out, that the aluminium disc was missing from the top of the uppermost O-ring, so we ordered that of diesel injection pumps. So all the bits turned up. It literally 10-minute job. Turn that round, as I say, nip back, watch the video. 10-minute job, get that sealed. As soon as you begin to put the cold start back into the pump, you know it's going to seal. It just has that restrictive feeling when you're entering it that you know it's going to seal. Popped it in, sealed perfectly. Bled the air out of the system. We got it up and running, and we ran the engine for about 20 minutes. So set the idling speed up on the pump, which then gave us the opportunity to wander around and look at what else was leaking. And we did find some leaks on the fuel filter housing, the fuel filter pipework. But I say, give you a walk around a couple of minutes time and you'll see we've got it all sorted out. It's now leak free. Fingers crossed. So we started to get it ready for the winter. The water's out of it now. Next couple of days, possibly, the tank will be off, the radiator will be off, everything will go back into storage. It'll just give us that bit more space, because that's what we don't need to run that again this side of the new year. So that can go back into storage out the way. The fuel will remain in the system. So when we come to put it back on, all we need to do is pipe the tank up, get rid of the air from the lift pipe, which will just simply come through the lift pump into the first filter and straight back through the return pipe into the tank. So we shouldn't have any problems with that. The other night I was sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, if we're going to start and rebuild the valve chest, I really need to go through all the components, make an itinerary of what is missing, and get the parts ordered. So brings them in here, puts them on my desk, starts to go through them all. I think in total there were 7 items missing. So I ordered them off Barclay Williams. and they've turned up this morning. They turned up Friday morning. So here in this little bag we've got the retainer and the small ball. This is from the hold valve. We've got the gauze and the retainer for the bypass valve. And in this little bag we've got the spring for the TCU valve. So unfortunately this spring's the wrong one. My spring is 0.799 long, and it's compressed because of its age. There will be a bit of compression on there. It needs to be a little bit longer, and 0.251 diameter. This spring is 0.332 diameter, and it's only 0.715. Now I spoke to Stuart, and Stuart did say, he says there are 2 springs for those pumps. He says I'll send you the other one up straight away. And we've got the 3 replacement Doughty washers. So we've got one for the hold valve, one for the non-return valve, and one for the dump valve. So again, we'll go outside, I'll give you a walk around the valve chest, tell you what we've been doing this week with it. In my mind, all these parts are missing from the 2 valves, the only 2 valves that are accessible from outside of the tractor. My theory is that the owner of this tractor has suffered some form of loss of hydraulic use for whatever reason. And in his search to remedy this, he has whipped the 2 covers, or he's whipped the cover and the dumpy valve out of this valve chest, and he started the tractor to blow any crap out of the system that was possibly in the valve chest, clogging it up in his mind. And I think the little internal bits are getting blown out, because if you go back to video 22 and subsequently weekly yarn number 6, you will see particularly this piece, the little aluminium disc, is sitting on the back of the valve chest. 2 brass screws, one from the valve chest, we're not sure where the other ones come from, but one definitely from the valve chest from the bypass valve, was down in the bottom of the axle, if you remember, wasn't it? So, with the exception of the spring, we've got all the parts, or spare parts now, for the valve chest. Hopefully this next couple of days we're going to crack on and get the valve chest put back together. So the next video out should be the reconstruction of the valve chest. We'll see. The cold start mechanism, we managed to test it the other day. Here we screwed it in and started the engine with the cold start mechanism in place and turned it out to let the engine run and warm up, and we ran it for about 20 minutes, as I say. But during that time I then wanted to make sure that the cold start mechanism was properly working, and to do that I screwed the cold start back in while it was running, which effectively cuts off the pressure to the automatic advance system, and immediately you could hear the difference in the note in the engine. Opened the valve back up and the engine note changed again. So big win-win on that one. £6.60 plus VAT plus postage, and no more leaks, and we've got a cold start that's working. What I need to do now over the winter is get that glow plug that's in the intake manifold sorted out. We'll get that to work. We need electricity supply to it, and we need a little fuel supply to it. But we'll see. We'll see. Right, as I say, it's been this week, we haven't getting a lot done, but we're getting all that sorted out. Oh, and little bottle of 603, 5 millilitres, £7. You're not going to need a big bottle, are you? That bottle that you see me using in there, the stud locker, Loctite, I've had that since 1976, right? I got that as an apprentice in Welling Electric, and that's how long it's going to last. So I didn't see the point in spending an absolute fortune on a big 200 ml bottle when that's probably all I'm ever going to need of 603. So, right, let's have a quick walk around. We'll see what, we'll show you what we've been getting done, eh? So this week we spent a lot of time just going around sealing up leaks. As you can see, we've got new GIC fitting here, fibre washer between the tank and the GIC fitting, cut about 1/2 inch off the end of the pipe, new quarter nollive, new nut. Down here, fuel filter bowl, not leaking anymore. Again, across here we put GIC fitting in, copper washer which we had to make, or we didn't make, but we had one with the outside diameter right, but not the internal diameter, so we had to cut the internal diameter to fit. Again, 1/2 inch off the pipe, new nut and olive, and as you can see, no leaks. But we've got a bit of paper underneath, and that'll probably sit there for about a week till we're absolutely sure there's nothing more leaking around this side. Right, let's have a look at the other side. So around this side we've got the cold start mechanism resealed, new O-rings put in, new seal put onto the shaft. We'll put it back together. You knew as soon as you put it back in, the feeling of when it went back in just was so secure, and it just stopped leaking immediately. Absolutely brilliant. So we then had the engine running for about 20 minutes, set the idling speed up on the pump, but that then gives us the opportunity to have a wander around as well and look for other leaks, because there was other leaks. Let's have a look and see where the other ones were coming from. In here, this screw here, this screw and this screw, when I put this filter housing together, I mustn't have tightened these up properly, because there was diesel leaking out of these. Obviously they're the bleed off, the air bleed offs for this, but if you nip these up, the air will come off anyway through the return pipe to the tank. So as I say, I never checked them, and with the engine running the way it was, I never had a chance to check them, to be honest with you, because I was too busy dealing with leaks down on the bottom. That's all our leaks sorted out. I began to drain the water off. I've drained it out the block, started draining it out the radiator. We're going to get that finished off later on today. The radiator probably will come off this weekend at some point, along with the airframe. The tank will come off and get drained. It's going back up to the farm out the way, just to give us a bit more space in here for the winter, because now that this is running the way I want it to run, I'm quite happy that we can now get on with the back end and do some work on the back end of this. Put the gearbox back in, maybe get a start with the final drives, get the final drives done. We'll see. We'll see how we get on with it. Right then, what else are we getting done? So a valve chest, getting all this sorted out, had all the components in, cleaned it all up with our little bristly brushes, given it a good soak in oil, so we're just about ready to start and put all the components back in. Now, looking back on this, I've had to order 8 missing pieces for this, and looking back at it, all the missing bits is off here. Right, sorry, out of the 8 bits there's a couple of dowty washers for here and here, but all the internals were missing from this valve and this valve. Now, funny enough, these are the only 2 valves that you can really only access from outside the tractor, because all of this is inside the axle. The only access you've got is to these 2 ports here. And I think, in my mind now, I think what's been happening with this tractor is, I think it's began to suffer from a loss of hydraulic power. One of the previous owners has possibly thought that the loss of hydraulic power was a blocked valve within the chest. Doing the only thing he's probably could do, take the caps off here, pull out the bits he could see, and then I think he started the tractor to blow oil through these two so that he could blow out any blockage, obstruction or crap in the system, not knowing that there were the little restrictors, the brass screw, the little balls. The gauze was still in that, but it was buggered. Now, the brass screw, if you can remember, was in the bottom of the axle. The little restrictor plate, the aluminium restrictor plate out of here, was lying on the back of here. If you pop back to Weekly Yarn 6, I think it's 2 minutes and 17 seconds. That's a clip in, and I show you the restrictor lying on here. The ball's long gone. It was gone. But in the bottom of the sump, in the bottom of the axle also was another smaller brass choke type screw. And I don't know where that's come from. It's not out of this valve because, and I'll put this picture up for you. If you have a look at this picture, and it gives you all the measurements of the screws for various types of valves. The longer screw that we've got is for this one. Don't know where the short ones come from. So that's all nip and clean now. What we're going to do, the parts arrived this morning, as I say, but the spring for the TCU valve is the wrong one. Apparently there's two springs for these TCU valves. One's a short fat one, one's a long thin one. I've got the long thin one. It's 0.799 long, 0.251 diameter. The wrong one's turned up this morning, so I've spoke to Stuart at Barclay Williams. He's got another one coming up to us now as we speak. But we can still crack on with this. We can still get a start with this, and we can get some bits and pieces done. The two caps for the bottom are in the freezer. They're in there now. I've got some 603 Loctite to go on the bottom of here. And what I'm going to do with this to ease the passage of these two caps, this is going to get wrapped up in tin foil and go back into a pressure cooker. And it's going to get boiled for about 20 minutes in the pressure cooker. The idea of the tin foil is that it'll stop the water getting at the valve. Only the heat will penetrate the tin foil, stop the water getting into the chest, and that way the chances of it going corroded inside after it's been rebuilt is negligible. So that's what we're going to do. That's going into the pressure cooker. When that's warm, the plugs will come out, get tapped in, circlips in, 603 Loctite on, and then we will begin the process of rebuilding that valve chest. Right, well, that's a little catch up on what we've been doing this week. Hopefully it's been useful to you. The next video probably will be the valve chest getting put together. We'll see how long it takes this little spring to turn up. It shouldn't take long. I mean, I ordered the parts Wednesday. The parts came on Friday morning, so Stuart might get them in the post this afternoon. They might get here Monday, Tuesday. So hopefully that'll be the next video out will be the valve chest getting put back together. But as I say, thank you very much for visiting. We really do appreciate all of your time that you spend to come and see what we're doing. So we'll see you in the next one then. Take care, stay safe, bye now.